Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're doing the 7th installment of the color palette challenge that I've been doing for the past couple months. So this week we are doing number 13 and 14, which is Cyberbullies and I Kinda Like You Back. So Cyberbullies is this really nice blue toned palette, and what I was originally thinking was to have somebody kind of hiding under the covers with the glow of the phone in like a very dark room. And I did change that up a little bit, but I still kind of kept the same idea where it's a dark room and you can still see the glow of the phone. I just actually chose to show the character a little bit closer up so you don't see all of their body. So I just have this girl laying in bed. She's holding her phone above her so you can see the light on her face, and a tear is rolling down her cheek because she's obviously upset at what she's reading from her phone. So cyberbullying is just like any other kind of bullying, completely unacceptable. People think that it's okay to bully others online because they can hide behind a screen and keep their life private, their anonymity intact, but it's just as hurtful, if not more hurtful, when like people you don't know or even people you do know are attacking you online. So anyways, that was just my little message. Don't bully people. But I don't really know what to say about the rest of these pieces. I really tried to incorporate a lot more texture into this piece, so I used a lot of textured brushes. So you'll notice I added spots to the pillow and the sheets and some texture to the blanket, her shirt, and the bed frame later. And I did use the airbrush to create the glow from her phone, and I think it gives it a super cool effect. I'm actually really happy with this one, and I'm excited for you guys to see the finished product. I always try and speed these videos up like a lot because I don't know if people get bored watching a time-lapse video, or if people would actually want to listen to me talk or talk about random things. And you know, there's only so much I can say about the artwork, so that's another reason why I try and keep it short, because it's like, well, these are the colors I used. I use the same techniques in almost every drawing I do, so there's not much different week to week. But I could also talk about what's going on in my life, but I don't know if anybody would actually want to listen to that. For example, this week I kind of realized that I definitely have a lot of bad luck. The time I'm recording this voiceover, it had been about a month since Walmart lost my online grocery order, and about a week since I was almost evicted from my apartment for a computer error that was, again, not my fault. Neither of these things were my fault. It was the computer system that messed up, and yeah, Walmart literally lost my grocery order, sent it to a completely different location, which was like 20 minutes away from where I live, which was really inconvenient because I had planned to pick them up from work and be a nice smooth transition, and I had a rough day at work and it was just too much for me to handle at that point. And then with the rent thing, I got a notice on my door saying that I hadn't paid my rent for July, so you know, I had like 2 weeks to move out basically, and I had a whole breakdown. Complete meltdown, crying, everything. I think I went through like the 7 stages of grief within about 30 minutes. Anyways, I went to go talk to them. Turns out there was just a mistake in the computer system because I transferred apartments or whatever. Anyways, they sorted it, but I really didn't need that scare. So I don't know what it is about me and computers that just do not get along, but the fact that 2 pretty significant things have happened within the last month that caused me a ton of stress and make me never want to use online systems like that ever again is a little bit ridiculous. So anyways, that's kind of what's been going on, I guess, recently that I think I have really bad luck with. Here is the finished piece for Cyberbullies, and let's move on to the next one. So I Kinda Like You Back, like I said earlier, is a green and orange palette. I inserted this picture of a couple holding hands from Google. I will put the link to the picture in the description down below in case you want to use the same pose. I just Googled like hand holding, like barely holding hands or something like that, because I wanted the hands to be like just barely touching, because it's like I kinda like you, so they're like kind of touching, I guess, is kind of where I was going with that. So I uploaded that picture to use as a reference because drawing hands is definitely not a strong suit of mine, and I'm really trying to work on anatomy and hands and feet. Feet are even worse than hands, to be honest with you. If I have to draw like a real foot, I'll probably cry. Like, I'd much rather draw a hand than a foot. So it took me a really long time to try and get the hands to a place where I liked the way that they looked. Of course, I just used the reference as like a baseline to try and get the correct proportions, and then I went ahead and kind of changed the angle and position of some of the fingers just to make them a little bit more to my vision, or a way that I think looked good. Because obviously if you're like tracing a drawing, it's not necessarily going to look the way that you think it's going to, and I don't really like to trace, I guess. Like, I did my little rough outline and then fixed it, kind of made it my own. Anyways, so the sketching process actually took a really long time, and I'm not sure if you noticed at the beginning of the sketching, but there was like a bunch of little spots, and then the painting kind of like flew into the bottom. My cat decided to step on my laptop while I was drawing this, and his little toe beans made some marks. So, the fun of trying to do digital art when your cat wants to cuddle with you instead. So that's okay. It's digital art. It's not like he stepped in paint or anything, so I'm not mad. I think it's really cute. So the sketching process, like I said, literally took forever. Like, I think this clip, I've sped it up 8 times speed, and it's still almost 2.5 minutes long, which is a lot. And then when I go into the line art, I found a new brush that I wanted to try out on my program. It's called Paint Tapered, and what I liked about it is that when you cross over the same line in 2 different strokes, it doesn't change how opaque it is. Like, it's solid. You don't see that you've obviously crossed the line twice, which is the issue that I found in Cyberbullies was happening quite a bit, because again, I used a different brush there. I used like the ink liner or whatever for that one, and I really didn't like how it wasn't opaque. So I wanted to find something that was opaque, and I know that the like other brush one that I use sometimes isn't opaque on the edges, so then you get like a solid center, and then the edges are a lot lighter, which again, I don't really want that for line art. So anyways, I use this brush, and I think this is going to be my new favorite line art brush, so I did move it over to the side where all of the brushes that I use quite frequently or like to use are, and yeah, it'll probably be used again because, like I said, it's actually opaque. You get the line weight variation, and it doesn't blur out on the edges at all. So I chose to do the darkest color in the palette, the darkest orange one, and then tone it down a little bit so that it was even darker, and that's how I did the line art, as you can see. And then my vision was to have where they're touching be the darkest orange, and then as it gets further and further away from where they're touching, it like fades into the green, and it would all be blending together. And that's to represent that where they're touching is the strongest connection. Like the prompt, I kind of like you back. It's like the start of a blooming feelings, blooming relationship, something along that line. So where they're barely touching, it's like the warmest color to represent those feelings that are starting, and it gets like colder, I guess you could say, as you move away from where they're touching. And the idea is that over time, the darker, warmer color would take over, and they'd be fully in love or whatever. But I wanted to represent that kind of part of the prompt quite literally, I guess, where they're kind of touching, and then the connection or the warmth between them is only just beginning. So I was actually really happy with this idea. I really wish that there was like a clipping mask on this program so that I didn't have to go around and erase all of these silly little lines that go outside, or where I had to add extra color to the outside just so that I could use the blending tool properly. So that would be nice. So if the creators of Sketchbook would like to implement that feature, I would be grateful. And then the next hardest thing of this piece was trying to choose a background color. Because I used all of the colors in their pure form, basically, for the drawing, it was really difficult to choose a background color. And then I was like, what if I just do black? And then I remembered that the color palette part with the title is also black, which wasn't going to work. I tried the same color as the line art. It also didn't work, so I chose gray. Here's the finished piece. I hope you enjoyed watching. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below if you liked the video. Subscribe to my channel. I make new videos every Monday, and I will see you all next week.